Hi, my name's Nicky and I've been involved in archery for nearly 25 years. I've competed internationally with recurve and compound bows, and for the last about 4 or 5 years now I've been coaching. I've set up a business called Archery Excellence, and what I hope to achieve is every spectrum of archery, from getting kids involved in archery at primary schools all the way through to our junior GB pathway, where I'm coaching several athletes there too. So I'm really passionate about this, to get more kids involved in the sport in any way we can. So for primary schools, Archery GB and Clickers Archery have developed the Arrows Archery Kit. I want to show you a video all about this kit.
Hello, I'm Archie.
Hello, I'm Amy.
And we love archery.
Okay, so you might ask me, why archery? There's loads of different reasons why we want to get everyone involved with archery. First of all, it's something different. It's not your normal PE lesson, so it's just nice for the children to have something different, a different sport perhaps they haven't tried before. It's a skill sport, okay, so it's not your energetic cardiovascular sport, and you might get some of the children who are less sporty who want to give this a go, which is just a really nice thing to try and get them involved in. I mean, I was a really sporty kid. I was into county level hockey and I loved archery too, so it's not exclusively the non-sporty kids. You can use it individually, so you can have a child shooting for their own pleasure and their own scoring, or you can make it a team event and get them involved, you know, groups of 3, 6, whatever you like. Archery teaches a lot of discipline as well, okay, so we use the range commands with all this equipment just as we would with traditional archery. I think that discipline element is really important. It really appeals to autistic children as well. So children that like that repetition, to know what's coming next. We find a lot of kids on the autistic spectrum actually really enjoy the sport. It's a really inclusive sport as well, so we can get pretty much any child shooting arrows, whether they've got an arm missing or a leg missing, you can shoot in a wheelchair, anything like that. So we can get any child shoot an arrow. There's always a way to adapt, and that's something that CPD course will teach you. And of course, it can be done in a COVID safe way. So you can set up your own target, your own bow, and have your own arrows. You can colour code them, for example, and ensure that each child shoots in their own channel and they're not swapping equipment with other people. Okay, so what can I provide? I can deliver the Archery GB Introduction to Arrows Award. Okay, so this is a course which takes about an hour and a half to deliver, and I can deliver it to 12 or an absolute maximum about 15 adults. Okay, so the outcomes of the course are to be able to deliver sessions, to be comfortable using all of the equipment, to be able to set up a rapid range, to be able to explain the safety rules of the sport, to guide participants to shoot arrows, and how to deliver the games, which also include the Arrows Archery Festivals, which is part of the school games. You don't need any previous experience at all of archery to take on this course and be able to deliver to children in your school. You will need an arrows pack for delivery of the course, and you will receive an Archery GB certificate on completion of the course. Okay, other things that I can deliver. We also have the Arrows Young Leader Awards, which we have a tutor and young leader booklets for. And that's a course which is aimed at 14 to 17-year-old children who can deliver then archery sessions to younger children. And I have known older children in primary schools, year 5, year 6, then be able to deliver to the younger children in the school. You can either just buy the resources or it's something I can deliver to you. I also deliver school clubs, which can be delivered over a half term, so 5 or 6 weeks, whatever suits for your school. And that really focuses on technique and also fun and games. I am thinking about doing an archery curriculum for PE. Be really interested to know whether this is something that interests you in your school. What I really want to get from an archery curriculum is for me to be able to teach the teacher, okay, so it leaves a legacy in that school where the children are going to learn more. I can't go to every single school and teach every child. I want to spread the sport of archery, so you as teachers are really confident to deliver this. So if I can build a curriculum, if you're interested in that, please do let me know, because that's something I would really like to do. I can also help deliver traditional archery, so whether you've already got equipment in your school, I can help source that for you, loan it to you, or help you buy it. I can do range assessments to ensure the area that you want to use is appropriate, and I can also deliver the Archery GB Instructor Award or the Archery GB Teacher Award to train your teachers up. You know, if you have a consortium of schools and you want to join forces and bring a few teachers in to do some training with me, that's great as well. Please get in contact if you have any questions about any of it. I am announcing a special price pack for this PE conference, okay? So we have created a very special new pack, which is an 8 bow pack, okay? So it includes 8 of the bows, 4 of the targets, 27 arrows. It comes with 8 arm guards or braces as well for the children's arms, and it comes with the 2 carry cases and also the manual with all the games and information in. All of that, plus the CPD course, so the Introduction to Arrows course that I deliver, is going to come in at a price of £585 plus VAT, and that includes your delivery of your kit to the school, plus my mileage on top of that. Okay, so if you're interested at all, if you've got any other questions, then you can get in touch with me at Archery Excellence, which is info@archeryexcellence.co.uk. I hope you enjoy the conference. Have a great day.
Hello everyone, thanks for engaging with this particular presentation, and thanks to George for the invitation to present. My name is Ben. I'm currently employed as the head of coaching at Fulham Football Club. The aspiration for the next 15 minutes is to ask you to consider what decision-making process you go to in designing environments for physical activity for young people. Whilst my current role may be perceived to be within elite football, I've been fortunate to spend a 25-year career in community sport, community football, and also more recently in both youth development and within elite football. My current role is really to support the development of the coaches and helping coaches to better understand their practice, why it is that they make the decisions that they make, and how that may best support both young people to enjoy playing football, but also to aspire to become the best they can be, and hopefully one day to represent our first team at Fulham Football Club. I guess the sort of backdrop to the presentation is a piece of work that I was fortunate to have published about 6 or 7 years ago, which just provides some kind of framework, not dissimilar from the STEP principle, I guess in many senses, that supports coaches and teachers to think about how they design practice and some of the considerations or decisions that they may go through in structuring a piece of work. If I may, I'd like to start with a couple of slides that you might not have seen before. And I guess the advantage of presenting virtually is if there is no laughter, no humour whatsoever, I don't feel the pain that comes with telling a joke or attempting to tell a joke that nobody laughs at when you're sat delivering to a room of people. Moving swiftly on to the sort of principle of environment design, this slide will form the main meat of the presentation, if you like, and it really just encourages practitioners to think about why they do what they do. It will close with 2 video examples, one which is a video example of myself working with some grassroots football players from a few years back, and the second one will give an animated example of something that we currently use within our elite environment or perceived elite environment at Fulham. So hopefully whatever your backdrop is, whatever your aspirations and interests are, hopefully there's something that embodies the framework that you'll see within genuine practice, which I guess, from my experience, most practitioners like to see stuff play out for real, to be able to feel it, smell it, taste it, and to be able to think about what that means for them. So I guess what I'd encourage anybody to do, and I'm sure these are things that are already in your mind, is that whatever it is that we do, whatever decisions we make in terms of building opportunities for young people to play sport, that it is underpinned by a clear idea about what we think is important, or what I guess is principally called a vision now, and also underpinned by some values. So one of the examples that I'll show you is from my time at the Football Association, where I was fortunate to spend 12 years working as a coach and coach developer. And the vision at the Football Association is to inspire, empower and support the development of coaches. Hopefully that will play out in terms of the work that you'll see. The vision at Fulham, where I'm currently employed, is individuals who can fulfil their potential. So huge focus upon better understanding the individual needs of both the coach and the player that are within your care, and then deciding how best to support their development. That vision is underpinned by the values of hard work, humility and honesty. So whatever it is that you do, ensure that it's underpinned, and that in no sense do we sacrifice the importance of working hard, demonstrating humility and being honest in your approach. The next few animations will start to highlight the way in which we encourage our coaches, and have encouraged coaches over a number of years to consider how to build practice. It's largely a framework for practice, which hopefully means that it's more of a light fingerprint rather than a heavy footprint. It definitely isn't a practice book that says if you turn to page 85, here's the practice that you should deliver when you're working on running with the ball, or passing, or travelling, or whatever theme it is that people might come up with. But more importantly, it's just provide a set of ingredients that people can collect and mix to hopefully build some of their own recipes. And it works across two key elements. It's the design of the practice. So what are the fundamental things that form the way that the practice looks? And this may then enable some of the things that are key to us to be more implicit to the way that they're practiced. The demands is more about how the coach and or the teacher perhaps more explicitly explains things or set challenges to players. So they're the demands. So two aspects. What are some of the more subtle implicit elements in the way that we design the piece of work? What are some more explicit challenged focus aspects of the way that we demand or challenge the players within whatever game or practice it is that we've put together? I guess the next layer within this footprint is what from a design perspective would be perceived to be the 3 Ps. What's the size and shape of the pitch? How are the players distributed? And what parameters might we organise around the design of the pitch to either constrain movement or just to perhaps consider thought in the way that people play the game? Within the demands, there's 3 Rs. So 3 Ps from a design perspective: pitch, players, parameters. 3 Rs from a demands perspective: relate, restrict and reward. Here's some explanation, of the way that this may play out. So restrict is, I guess, your typical kind of condition. You must do this. Although I would be keen to say that within restrict, it would be unusual to encourage coaches to put a one-touch restriction on practices for everybody. Because I guess by placing people on a one-touch restriction, you reduce them down to only one decision. It may be that an example of a restrict, maybe you can take 1 touch or 4 or more, so that people still get a choice. It just limits them from certain options, which maybe enables them to practice some stuff that they're not wholly good at yet or may be important to them. So restrict, I guess, the traditional kind of condition. At perhaps the other end of the spectrum, if there is such a thing, is relate. So that encourages players to relate the situation that they're in to the task that they've been set. So if wanting to encourage players, whether they're playing football, netball, basketball, hockey, perhaps any other field sport, to look for the times to play forward, it may be we would just use subtle language like, can you spot the times to play forward? So hopefully it sows a seed or plants an idea into the player's mind. It doesn't necessarily restrict from the decisions that they can make. Perhaps a middle ground would be reward, so that if you do this, you'll get additional goals. So maybe if you play 1 touch from the middle third of the pitch into the final third of the pitch and score, you get double goals. So it encourages people to play forward early, to penetrate and play into the final part of the pitch. And if they do that, they'll get rewarded as a consequence of doing it. It doesn't force their decision making, but it hopefully encourages them towards a particular way of thinking. So shortly you'll see a video example which will play for about 3 or 4 minutes. I'll leave it to play and hopefully it tells its own story, which is the first example of the way that the environment is designed and in which the teams are challenged and some demands are placed on them to encourage them to think about when to pass it and when to dribble it. The boys that you'll see playing are a group of under-11s, a grassroots football team, and as many of you will know from your own experiences, you've got a collection of a real eclectic mix of individuals. One boy in there who's excellent, plays in an academy program but still is involved within his local grassroots team, and you've also got some people in there that are very, very new to football. So no doubt that kind of typical differentiation challenge of you've got a group of 30 children, some are really able and able to move, have excellent physical literacy, some struggle with that, and then how it is that we manage to find challenges that hopefully support them all to enjoy playing sport. So I'll stop talking, but all I will do is just draw your attention back towards when you watch this piece of work. If you think about anything, I'd encourage you to think about the design of the pitch, the way the players are distributed, and the parameters that are placed upon the design of the practice, and the demands where there's examples where people have to relate, restrict, and reward their task.
First thing, blue team. The number of passes you make before you score equals that number of goals. I'll say that again. The number of passes you make before you score equals that number of goals. So if you make 27 passes and score, 27 goals. If you just win it back and kick it straight in the goal, 1 goal. Okay? So you need to decide when's the time to pass it and when's the time to try and score in the goal. Okay? Second thing, for you guys, the number of people you dribble past before you score equals that number of goals. So if you dribble past 4 people and score, it gets you 4 goals. Okay? You'll each get a go at each task, and then the third game will look for you to make decisions about when to pass and when to run with it. Everybody comfortable with that? Yes. So then, Charlie, can you keep track of the number of passes? And if you get 5 and score, you'll know you've got 5 goals for it. So I'll put you in charge of that. Tom, well tried. That's 1 player beat. Albie, brilliant. Just stop there. So Thomas and Albie have both beaten a player. That's exactly the attitude I'm looking for from the Greys. Get on the ball, go past people. Fantastic. More of that. Thomas, from the side. Pass it on or run it on. Good tie, Magic. Well played. Brilliant. That's 4. Can we score, Greys? 5. Good Blues. Brilliant. Like it. Well played, Matt. Good lad. Good, Charlie. Good. Keep playing. Keep playing. Good. Charlie, fantastic. Well played. Okay, so for the purpose of this game, we're looking at dribbling and passing. We've given each team a reward task. The number of passes that the Blues make before they score equals that number of goals if they score. Sometimes people will say, well, they'll play the task, they won't play the game. And that's part of the job, is to recognise if we've made 3 passes and there's a chance to score, take it. Because if you're trying to play to 5, 6, 7, there's a chance that you might lose possession and hence won't get any goals. Same for the dribblers. The number of people, which is the grey team, the number of people you beat before you score equals that number of goals. Great save, Matthew. We'll play from Matthew. So we're trying to draw each team's attention towards a particular aspect of the game, either passing or dribbling. This half of the game is going to play for 5 minutes. So we're going to play uninterrupted for 5 minutes. And part of that is from a physical perspective. If we stop them every 30 seconds, play from you, Matthew, on a Sunday in the game where the game doesn't stop. So if we want physical resilience, the capacity for the players to deal with the demands of the game, we probably need in training to leave them to play unstopped for a period. It's also good for problem solving in the sense that if I keep going in or any coach keeps going in and solving the problem for the players, it suggests that it's the coach that's got the answer, as opposed to the design of the practice and the opportunity for the players to practice it, helping them find some possible solutions. Bear in mind this is 5 minutes work in a lifetime's work, so the idea that we're going to solve it all today is probably flawed in itself. Oh, he's gone big. Yes! 1-1. Meet me by the white cone. Meet me by the one cone. Never let it said that the long ball game is dead.
So hopefully some examples of the way in which those two aspects can be combined. The design of the experience and the demands that are placed upon the players. Hopefully also some subtle elements in there that, not that that's anything that you or anybody else should deliver, hopefully some aspects in there about some of the things that I value and some of the ways that I may go about designing practice. Relatively light in terms of the coaching, hopefully just lots of opportunity for people to practice enjoying playing football or any other sport. Second example that we'd like to share with you is from a recent session with some of our players at Fulham Football Club. It's an animation of the session which I'll let play out, but hopefully gives perhaps more of a game-specific, perhaps more intentional session for players that are perhaps perceived to have a little bit more ability than the ones you saw previous. It's not good, bad, just perhaps a slightly different way of approaching something with a slightly different group of people. I'll let it play out and then talk through some of the animation. So football coaches, I guess like in many other sports, can sometimes be at risk of overcomplicating what's perhaps a relatively straightforward game. So you'll see here the yellow's organised with what might be called a 3-5-2 formation, and the white's organised with what might be called a 4-diamond-2 formation. Now, invariably within any session, it's unlikely we'll get 22 players, but how do we still generate some representation of the way that we want to play within a smaller sided environment? So invariably we'll lose some players, if you like, from what we might normally have as our 22, and then consider ways in which we can still generate representation of the ways that we want to play with a smaller number of players. This might just be a way of representing those two systems within something a little bit more smaller sided, if you like. So that's the way in which the players may be organised. The yellows will be attacking the goal that's to the right of the screen. The whites will be attacking the goal that's towards the left of the screen. And at Fulham, like I guess at many sports clubs and particularly football clubs, sort of modern trend to play out from the back, to have lots of the ball, to try and play through people and perhaps not resort only to playing long is quite prevalent. So within this particular session, we were encouraging the players to think about how they play out from the back. But in the previous session we used what maybe have been called a reward task. This is more of a restrict task. So the goalkeeper's unable to play the first pass into the middle third. So the challenge is for them to solve the problem in other ways. A couple of ways they may solve the problem is to play into and through pressure. So as you see there, there's quite tight, quite difficult. But by saying you can't play the first pass into the middle third, they may play short, deal with the pressure, and the defenders and the goalkeeper get good at receiving the ball in the tight, dealing with pressure, hopefully managing the ball and finding clever ways to be able to get out. An alternative way to play may just be to play past pressure there, which particularly from a goal kick, offside doesn't apply, so maybe that the game can be stretched, and if we've got goalkeepers, which we have in this particular group, who require the opportunity to practice plan over longer distances, they can practice plan over longer distances. So not mandating to play out only short, we're not mandating only to play long, but just by saying the first pass can't be played into the middle third, it perhaps challenges the players to find alternative solutions to the problem. And I guess the key thing to say, just to start to draw this to a close, is that whatever your vision, whatever your values are, however it is that you design and place demands upon the players, the key part is the alignment piece that goes through the middle. That whatever it is that we design, whatever demands we place upon people, and however it is we go about our practice, should probably as much as possible align with our vision and values. So within some kind of bandwidth, there probably isn't such a thing as good or bad practice. There's just practice that aligns with the way that you think about designing stuff, the way that you think about players generating experience. Sadly, that's all I've got.